Hi, I'm Nicole, writer, producer, and editor here at Critical Crop Top, and this is Tutorial Tuesday. Today, we're going to be talking about the interface inside of Premiere Pro. Okay, so in our last video, we created a new project, and in this video, we're going to talk about all those windows inside of Premiere Pro, or as they're called in Premiere Pro, panels. What do they mean? What do they all do? So we're going to take a look at those, and that'll get us ready to go ahead and start editing. Okay, so here we are in Premiere, and we're looking at our window with a list of all the projects that we've created. So I'm going to go ahead, and I don't see the one that I am looking for, so I'm going to go over here to Open Project, and there's my folder with all of my various Premiere Pro projects. So I'm going to go ahead and hit open on this one. This is one that I've kind of already got in progress, so I can show you all of the different windows in action. Okay. So let's just go through each of these are called, this is what Premiere Pro calls panels. So let's talk about what each of those things are. So of course we've got our menu here at the top, where you can find, if you're unsure of where can I find something, chances are you can find it up here in the menu toolbar up here. Down here in the bottom left, we have the project panel and the media browser. So the project panel is sort of the main hub for where everything is going to be stored in our project. You can see here that I've already created some folders to store my footage, my audio files, and my sequences. In Premiere Pro, we call these folders bins. And I can get into exactly why they're called bins in another tutorial. So if you're interested in knowing why we call these things bins, I can give you a little bit of editing history. Just put a note in the comments, and I'll be happy to tell you more about that in another video. If I want to create new bins, you can see there is a button here on the bottom right to create a new bin. I can also right-click and create a new bin, or I can use the key command for creating a new bin. So bins are where I'm going to be storing all of the assets for my project. And again, just like on my external hard drive where I have folders and they're labeled and all the things are kind of separated out, I do the same thing here in Premiere. So I have my video footage, I have my production audio, which is the audio that was recorded separately from the camera, and I have my sequences, which we'll talk more about in a minute. The media browser, so if I go over here and you'll see I've got quite a few bins open at the moment, and each of them are broken out into these different tabs. So if I go over here to this little arrow here, I get a little drop-down menu. So let's go over to our media browser, and the media browser is just a place where I can look at any of the hard drives or storage locations where media might be found connected to my computer, and I can go in and sort of look at all of the media. And we'll sort of talk about the media browser a little bit more when we get to importing footage. Okay, so that's the project panel and media browser. Up here, we have our source monitor. So if I go over to, say, a video clip, and now to open up a video clip that I want to look at, so if I want to look at one of the clips that I shot, I can double click on that, and it will, anything that's in my bin that I open up is going to appear here in my source monitor. So you'll see that I can watch it and I can hear it as well.
3B, take one.
Right? So I've got a couple of other tabs up here that we'll cover in other videos, but for now, just know that if you open up something from one of your bins in the project panel, it will appear up here in the source monitor. So right next to it, you'll notice I've got something similar. This is actually my program monitor, and my program monitor lets me see anything that I am working with down here in my timeline, okay? So the timeline is where all of my editing takes place, okay? So you can see that I've got some clips already laid out down here in my timeline. And these clips that I'm working with, this timeline here, is a sequence. Okay, so when we'll get more into that at a later time, but basically a sequence is my edited program. So you see I've got multiple sequences here that I can open up, right? So I can open up different sequences over here in my timeline. So I can actually be working with multiple different edits at the same time. So if I'm working on a web series, I could have a sequence for my edit of episode 1, my sequence for my edit of episode 2, or if I'm just working on a single short film, I might have different versions. I might have a sequence that's a rough cut, and then I have a sequence that, you know, is an edit that's a little further along, or maybe I've got a scene that I'm trying to edit 2 different ways. There's a lot of reasons why I might have multiple sequences in my project, but you can see that I have labeled all of those as well. So I've got, let's see, we're looking at my daily sequence here in my timeline, and as I move through my timeline, you'll see that it plays up here in my program monitor. Okay. Also along here on the side, I have audio meters. So as I move through my project, you'll see the levels jump around. This measures the volume of the audio in my timeline. Right?
Much better. Hello, handsome.
Okay. And then over here along the left-hand side, right in between my project panel and my timeline, I have a toolbar with a bunch of different tools on it, which we will go over in a later tutorial. And then just lastly up here on the top, these are just different ways to lay out my project panels depending on what I'm doing. So we're probably going to hang out in editing for most of the time, but of course I've also, once I get into doing a little bit of color, I get some different workspace where I have my color, my Lumetri color tool open here. Effects looks a little bit different, and then I'm gonna give it a second here to catch up with me. And then audio. So we've got our audio mixers here. So for now, you're probably just going to be hanging out and editing, but we'll explore a little bit more of those tools as we go along.
That's it for today's Tutorial Tuesday. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel so that you never miss another tutorial. And while you're here, check out some of our short films, web series, podcasts, and sketches that we've produced. If you've got a question about this tutorial, or if you've got a topic that you'd like us to cover on a future tutorial, then just leave it in the comments for us. Now go out there and make something, and we'll see you back on the next Tutorial Tuesday.